Taras Nabad. Oh, look at that beautiful city, at least in its glory days. Amazing. Even golden rooftops here. Pretty sweet. Oh, and stuff in the sky. Nice. The city of Taras Nabad was the crown jewel of Argent Nur. For centuries, it served as the spiritual heart of Argent society, home to both the royal family and the center of political power. No expense was spared in the building of the city, with bold colonnaded architecture and towering monuments to gods and kings represented on every avenue. Rural Argenta flocked to Taras Nabad on pilgrimage to the Maker temples. The city was ground zero of a massive demonic invasion attempt, and although the invasion was thwarted, the attack changed Argenta society forever. Mastery tokens, get them to instantly bypass any challenges. Next, of course, the demons. The Archvile, a super heavy enemy. Yeah, I noticed that. So, Blood Punch can instantly destroy its shield. The Archvile is vulnerable while summoning, forces them to instantly gib the incoming demons. Very sweet. And Forge from Hellfire. The Archvile is feared among lesser demons for its innate ability to channel and manipulate the unholy powers of hell magic. Descended from the eldest race of demons, the Archvile has long held a place within the ruling caste of highborn demonkind. Possessing superior intellect among the demon ranks, the Archvile's psychomancy powers make it a natural-born ruler of the savage and primitive beasts of hell, capable of bending weak-minded underlings to serve its will. Not just summoning monsters, he also controls them. That is just cheat. A history of the Sentinels, part 10. And this, as is the demon. Interesting. So the Makers on one side, demons on the others, and in the midst of the battle, there's us. Great. Oh, these ratings are actually really cool. Like the pointy end makes it interesting to read. Kind of gives you a start and an end of a line. Like, see this point line. There's a point, another point, point, another point, and there's a line down there. There's a point here and the line there. Point here, line there. There's no point here. That's weird. Point, root, and this weird. Really interesting system. Alright, translation from the Liagra Suljakanta Book of Kings. With the coming of the Slayer, the Knight Sentinels took the campaign deeper into the hard land of the demons than ever before. Mighty Atlas were brought forth, tearing paths through the hordes of hell alongside the Slayer and his army. The High Priest, under the guidance of the God Mother, had found means to gain entry to the innermost regions of the demon world, and with the Deek's presence, new gates could be opened. Our war machines were unstoppable, bright with Maker technology, enhanced by the very essence our enemies hurled against us, as our armies drove deeper and deeper into the blood-drenched territory of the demons. Countless victories were assured with the power of the Slayer, for with the Alpha Interfector at the fore of our pack, we brought certain doom to our foes. And though our hearts were pure and our purpose righteous, unbeknownst to the fighters of Argenta in our wake and under the veil of secrecy, the Mother God had set her priests to build vast factories upon the heathen's land, that she might gather the essence for further development. How this deception began, we would not know, for our focus remained on the horde of the underworld. Why then would we stop so low as to consider our Mother God of betraying our covenant? The Khan Maker did not seem at ease with the unforeseen rise of our Slayer, and the Seraphim who had birthed the Destroyer in secret soon vanished from Urdak, perhaps exiled for his heresy. Our legions rose unfettered under the unquenchable rage of the Demon Slayer, and his design led the Khan Maker to find profit in his endorsement. It soon became known that the Slayer has the Maker's God Machine, a holy relic reborn sent to bring the Maker's word to the wicked and to smite those who would seek to harm all who followed the path to Urdak. With the Slayer unwittingly cleaving a path for her Mother God, siphoned the energy, processing it beyond our knowledge into the fuel that would come to be known as Argent energy. The Slayer cared not for polity, whatever. The Slayer cared not for polity. He took no interest in the workings of our people, but set his task only on his desire, the destruction of the demons and their world. He no longer spoke for reasons unknown, though it was understood that he still possesses the ability, offering only guttural hefts of anger as he inflicted pain upon his enemies. For years he marched with the Night Sentinels through the fires of the demon lands, and every return to our homeworld found much change in Argent Nur. Should any blame be appointed to the Sentinels, it is this. In our further, we were negligent of our people and did not see the rising tide of evil. Our crusade empowered. We knew only the enemy laid before us and the wealth of Argenta at our backs, and did not pause to seek the cost and method of this progress. Now think about this for a moment, like, where is this thing? Unforeseen horse. There was some sentence in here that was very interesting. Rise of Slayer. The Argent Nur thingy. There we go. This is interesting. Cleaving in power for Mother God. The essence. Probably from the demons. And then we turn it into the Argent energy. If you think about it, like, how or where could a similar story take place in today's time? It's very interesting. Like, some power, right, or some faction, let's call it that, looks for power, right? In this case, Argent energy or oil in a different land, right? It's really interesting, and it does it as some kind of revenge act, right? 9/11, for example. It's really interesting how this kind of, yeah, it's not just a made-up thing. Like, this happens all around us all the time. It's just really interesting. And it's probably not only the 9/11 thingy. It's also like countless other conflicts that took place. One faction seeks some profit, some form of power, some form of energy, right, from a different faction or like an unknown place or whatever, and then just uses force. In this case, it's force, military force, but there's also other ways of achieving your goals. You can also use like religious force or market force. That are two other different ways of doing this. Maybe you can also use the force of being polite, diplomacy. The force of reason was not really used in history, wasn't it? That's interesting. Think about it, right? Like an oppressive force, right, that tells you what to do, right? So like it could either be like military or religious force, because this is something that came from the outside. It's never really a belief that you made up your on your own. It's usually given to you. Therefore, it's in a way oppressive, because it was pressed onto you from the outside. So, and then there's the market stuff, which is a little bit closer to diplomacy, but still you can force people to buy certain items other than their own goods or whatever, and you can also restrict stuff like that. And then there's, of course, the force of diplomacy. And this would actually mean that both parties that are that want things, that are in conflict with each other, would settle their fight, settle their conflict in a more reasonable, beneficial way for both parties, and not just the stronger faction oppressing the weaker ones. That would actually make things a better place. The Divine Machine. And this is us. And this is the thing. It either looks for whatever, a fighting spirit, or it enhances it. Interesting. And this is us again down there. Okay, at the bottom. Interesting. So how does it work? Within the infinite conscious matrix of the all-seeing Maker God mind, there exists every potentiality, every predictive variable of possible future timeline, each one known to the Maker Collective, with omniscient, inextricable clarity. The God mind surveys these timelines, watching them form and expand exponentially, like fractal patterns in the fabric of existence. Among these infinite possibilities, only one constant appears among them, unchanged by the flowing data of endless variability, that of the prophesied destroyer, the one who would bring about the destruction of the makers. So did it turn me into the destroyer, or like how even? Interesting. Either it turned me into the destroyer or it enhanced the destroyer, but somehow this is weird. The history of the Sentinels part. Ooh, interesting. So they used those big creatures in order to build all those monuments. They enslaved them, it seems. Fascinating. So, part 11. Translation from the Lyra Sultakenda Book of Kings. Yet as the Slayer and Night Sentinels battled the demonic host, their failure to act outside the confines of their duty allowed the rancor of the Essence to grip the Argenta. It was a mission deep within the boiling seas of the Netherrealm, where the Order of the Six reside, that a company of Night Sentinels learned of the Khan Maker's true dealings with the callous beasts. By Maker design, it was kept secret from the Sentinels and Argan people alike that the essence we had grown so reliant on during this war was comprised of the very spirit of our brothers and sisters who'd fallen to these vile creatures. The death had been uncovered, that all beings who found their end by the demonic horde would become a vassal of the hellscape, their flesh in time twisted into the very demons we fight, their souls extracted to create the essence that powers their world and ours. The victims were the enemy, and the enemy would become us. The soldiers stood in awe at the base of the factory, dedicated to such action, a place where the bodies of the slain were sorted and processed, tortured for the mill to have their souls extracted through sinister magic. Enormous vats of pain and suffering, ethereal energy, the haunting signs of lost souls awash in an eternity of servitude, transformed into energy to power our struggle against the dark realm and its malice. But worse than this grim reality was the discovery of the machinery which was used to enact the vile process our fallen had been subjected to. For it was not by hoof and claw that this blasphemous technology had come to pass, but the hand of the Argenta, guided by the Mother God's desires. We had fallen deep within the grasp of the enemy. What we had fought against would not reveal itself to be true, as without continence we could hold no sway over the Argenta populace. Regardless, the honor of the Night Sentinels would have to hold up the variety of these claims, and the Mother God could be our divinity no more. In secret corridors and clandestine conference, the Night Sentinels would find those amongst them who similarly distrusted the essence and had foretold this swelling corruption. Once the truth could be shared, the skeptics became members of the Sentinel insurrection, and the breach between holy and unholy Argenta began to grow. Whoa, now that is deep. Really deep. Didn't even think of that. Interesting. So it's kind of like a cycle the Argenta people go through. Fascinating. Number 12. The history of the Sentinels. So we have the Dark and the, let's call it Light Sentinels, whatever. And they're fighting. And of course the Marauders on one side and we as the Doomslayer on the other. Interesting. So the Argenta over here. Or I hope they are called Argenta. And the Makers on this side. With the respective positions filled. Nice. Like chess, kind of. What do we have here? Translation from the Liakara, Sodak, and the Book of Kings. The truth could not be denied. The unholy spires raised in the barren lands functioned by blessing of the maker machinery. The Khan had betrayed Argent Nur, and had made concert with the Dunur, actually, anyway, and had made concert with the demons to harvest their essence, in return granting them access to all the worlds under her influence. A symbiotic relationship had formed, and darkness now had been balanced by a light, for where there was heaven, so there would be a hell. Their followers would be granted passage to Urdak, and the sinners would fall into the fiery pits of the Dark Realm. This word would be spread from all cultures in all worlds and in all places. We were not without blame, for it was our people, the priests and sentinel engineers, who laid the work in place. Argenta's slaves had built the dark factories, and our own ancient wrath energy helped purify Hell's elixir into the miracle fuel that now powered the Maker's world and our own. The Night Sentinels spoke of the evil brought by the essence and carried their word to all who would listen. We had helped to create this new dichotomy, and so it must be for the Argenta to stop the spread of this pestilence. This new phase of existence, the dark and light. If not for us, then for the innocent whose worlds have yet to fall under the spell of the Maker God and her unseen allies in the Hell Dimension. Even when the Night Sentinels returned from the demonic realm with tales of slave factories that damned the souls of the innocent, the indoctrinated masses of Argent Dunur took no quarrel with the Makers. They were indebted to the demon essence, the ministers deliberating but finding no basis for change. The messengers were cast down for daring to speak against those who have gifted us so much, our gods. The Makers, in their infinite wisdom, would see fit that the faithful continue life anew in Urdak. They feared the wrath of the Mother God. A lifetime of servitude would not be undone by this insurrection. This was simply another trial, a test of faith to identify those that were truly worthy to experience life eternal in Urdak. The Argenta would not waver in their resolve. The Night Sentinels prepared for war once again, though this battle meant drawing the blood of their own brothers. Our army had seen the work of the demons firsthand and knew its evil. They had returned to the way of the wraiths, and though their armament was diminished without their essence, it remained pure and righteous. A division amongst the Argenta had occurred, one side standing in opposition to the doctrine of the Makers. The other locked in belief. The ascended empire was comprised of the faithful and misled, wielding the desecrated energies of hell, the power of the Makers and marauders who had sided with the Khan. The Night Sentinels were bolstered by the free people of Argenta and the mightiest of all killers, the Slayer himself. Plans and tactics were drawn. The Sentinels would close the Argent energy factories in Necroval, that which fed the world of Urdak directly with its supply of fresh essence. They would stop the flow. The slumbering wraiths would wake from their sleep and give Argent Dunur courage. Ooh, okay, so Urdak is made up like the Matrix or what? Which fed the world of, or like, I kind of think of Urdak as heaven, but Urdak is not heaven. Urdak is something else. Like, I am kind of missing something here still. Anyway, part 13 of the history of the Sentinels. Let's look at the image. So we have the priests that are used to get all the demons into the world, and they seem to be locked onto the gates themselves. Interesting. There's one Argenta dude right in here. Interesting. Translation from the Liakra, so they can Book of Kings. For years, the civil war raged and took its toll on the soldiers as their armor laid stained with the blood of their brothers on a cursed battlefield. Finally, an opportunity to end the war had been discovered by the Order Deeg and the Night Sentinels. With the Slayer at the head of their army, they gathered to traverse through the gate and sunder Necroval, the city of the dead. The Order of the Deeg, the high priests who had pledged their allegiance long ago to the Night Sentinels, worked in service of our mission. Those holy priests who had served the Argenta since time immemorial assured us that the way was clear. A plan was set to march into the accursed walls of Necroval and smite the factory, cutting off the flow of essence to Urdak and denying the Khan maker of her price. Our forces took spear in hand and advanced, and it is there that the venom of treachery struck. Upon entry through the hell portal, the night sentinels were scattered to the winds of unplanned chaos. Our warriors were separated, our ranks split as the gates twisted and hurled them across the unholy realm. Some of our warriors appeared near the gates they had walked before, but found that the vile priests had barred the way back. Then the trap was sprung, and each lone Argenta found himself set upon by the bloodthirsty multitudes of demonic beasts. Let it be known that it was not the priests who alone failed the northern armies, but one of the Sentinels' own. Hell found his weakness and exploited it to the demise of Argent Dunur. If not for the betrayer's stroke of madness, the Wraith's power would still be our own, and the Sentinel flag would still rise above Argent Dunur to this day. Wait a minute, it was not only that, but one of the Sentinels' own. I found his weakness and exploited it to the demise. Okay, one of the Sentinels and the priests together. I spoke of madness. Would still be our own. Wraiths. But come on. Wraith's power. Weird. What Wraith do they mean, by the way? Number 14 of the history of the Sentinels. With the Atlas and all of them fighting. Perfect. Translation from the Liagrasul and the Book of Kings. Scattered in hell, abandoned by their clergy and reinforcements, the Sentinels proved their worth in what would be their final war with the forces of all evil, unrelenting power in the face of certain death. The Sentinels crushed hundreds of demons and skewered titans. Then their Atlas held no more fuel. The Sentinels took to the ground and fought the swarms on land. All of hell knew of the betrayal, for it was without question the makers and the priests who had sowed the seed of deceit long before the brave warriors passed through the gate. What hell saw that day was the beating heart of the free people of Argent Dunur. They did not flinch in the face of their own certain death. They died as they lived, with sword and shield in hand. Urdak, too low a place to house such giants, there would be the fate of warrior gods remembered for all time. Lord Sash, the stalwart banner sergeant, was found with his war standard pierced through the throat of a great beast, his body surrounded by the corpses of enemies. Rowan the mighty, the light faded from his eyes, had eviscerated such a multitude that their entrails clung to the black rock like vines, gore relentless until the end. Had broken his blade on the backs of his foes, and by the time he fell, he had slain another 200 with his hands alone. The priests believed the Sentinels all slain, but we are Argenta, born to overcome. Rumors deemed heretical by the Order Deek persist and claim that the Slayer himself still rages in the unholy realm. None who live can know, for the future of Argent Dunur has been bent and twisted by the reverting visions of the essence drinkers. Never again will the light of the Wraith illuminate our world. All has fallen. If the Slayer does live, let him carry our vengeance forward. If he persists, let him have violence on those who have wronged us. May the blood of his sword never dry. May his war never end until the guilty have been punished, and may this evil never again spread its shadow over another world. It's like Jesus. The Repentant Jesus.